Hello everyone, I am Sheila Farhang and I am the founder of Avant Dermatology and Aesthetics in Tucson, Arizona. And today we're going to be talking about social media for your practice. So it's a new era for doctors, and whether you like it or not, I think you should at least be familiar with it. And so if you are interested in starting a social media account, it's really important to know like what your purpose is. Is it to bring in patients into your practice? Is it for personal branding? Is it for media attention? Is it to be a spokesperson? And so who is your audience? Younger, older, cosmetics? And then from there, it's really what's your platform, because they're all very, very different, as I'll get into in the next slide, as far as what the demographic is and what type of information you put out there. So my main account is Instagram. I've been doing it for 6 or 7 years, and while I have a lot of followers with 93,000, that doesn't necessarily translate into patients in the door. And so I've started another account that's my practice, and we're kind of doing things a little differently, so those can kind of translate into patients in my door. My social media for the Dr. Sheila Derm, I use for like more media and things like that. And that's just what kind of it grew into, so that's what I kind of held it to be. Facebook is really great for bringing in patients in the door, I feel like, because you can really geofence. I personally work with marketers who really kind of help hone in on the groups in the area, and they have like more mature patients. TikTok is a little younger. I don't know if that really translates into patients necessarily, but you can kind of use those to, there's a lower follow count, I feel like, or follow threshold, and so you can use the growth on there to kind of feed into the other platforms that you have. YouTube, I just started this. It does take a lot of work. I'm doing this mostly for education, not necessarily for my patient growth, and it does take a lot of work, and I do recommend getting an editor because that's what I did, and it's still a lot of work. And then Twitter, I think you're really just restricted on the amount of words that you can use. So as far as that, it's good for information, to put information out there, but I don't know if it's worth too much of your time if you're focusing on patients in the door. So this is really huge. This is the meat of your social media, which is the content. And I always say, you know, keep it simple. A lot of really good posts that I've looked at through my analytics on Instagram, or you can use other dermatologists to see what works for them. And it's basically acne, skincare, hyperpigmentation, hair loss, simple surgery. People don't necessarily want to know about your bullous pemphigoid patient. Unfortunately, maybe a small percent of them do, but I would say, you know, keep it really simple. Don't really talk about a lot of the science because people could just get really lost in the words. And then another thing that really helped me with my Instagram, the personal one, which is this personal branding one, that is being personable. People really like to know the day in your life. I don't know why, still I think about why people want to like see the coffee that I'm making or getting, but thousands of people do, because they resonate more with the person than just words, basically, or just a company. And not that you necessarily need to make it personal. Like, I don't really talk about my personal life on there, like husbands. You don't need to have your kids on there unless you want to. And then should you delegate it? For the personal branding one, my Dr. Sheila Derm, I don't personally, because it's representing myself, and I'm just really, really like OCD and type A about what's put out there and the aesthetic and the design. For my other one, for my practice, I haven't found the right person to help me with it, but once I do, they'll be helping me with posting some of the specials and like before and afters and things like that. So it's really up to you and what type of account you're going for. The aesthetic, you don't really need like a really good camera. Most of my photos actually are taken by an iPhone, just in really good lighting, which you need the lighting behind the camera. And that's really just the most important thing. iPhone, and my husband is like my Instagram husband. He takes most of my photos, and those actually do better than the ones taken by a photographer. And so that's really important to keep in mind. People just like rawness, you know, in your practice. And so that's one thing that I really recommend. You don't need to spend, you know, so much money on a photographer to take your photos. And using apps like Adobe. Adobe apps are great. They're professional. And there's one app called Lightroom that I think is really great just to brighten up and crisp up your photos. I would use that instead of a heavy Instagram photo. Even for dark photos, don't even post those, because it's all about the aesthetic and what you're putting out there. And then lastly, you really want to lean on your dermatology colleagues. You know, we're getting more into social media. We're advocating for our specialty. See what works. You know, find other dermatologists. A lot of us are writing hashtag dermatologist, so you can see who, you know, who else is in social media. Instagram is really great for this. There's a lot of dermatologists on Instagram. And, you know, if they're doing really great, especially on a post, see what works for them. You know, videos tend to do really well. They're a little bit more work, especially TikTok. You know, you're doing a 15 to 60 second video, but it could take hours to make, which I don't like. I like more standstill photos. And another thing is to use the organizations such as ASDS, AAD, and WDS. I'm on a lot of the social media kind of initiatives for those, and we're actually creating a lot of the content that we make available. So you can just start off your channel using that content that's already made for you, so you don't have to think of anything just yet, and kind of just get in the groove. And most important thing is definitely not too late. I think it's really, really important for doctors to be on social media. Again, it's sort of like free advertising if you think about it. Of course, Facebook, you can use marketers and things like that, but for the most part, marketing is so expensive on magazines, things like that, and this really can translate really well for your practice. So hopefully that was helpful, and have a great day.